Newcastle United have won 6 games in a row in the Premier League after beating Tottenham Hotspur by 2-1, and in this video we're going to be breaking down how they did it, including a look at the defensive tactic that Newcastle utilised to ultimately get themselves the win. The game started fast, frenetic, and a goal happened within 5 minutes. It ended up being a Tottenham goal, working well down this right-hand side. I thought they did quite a good job of shuffling down one side and then recycling possession whenever they needed to. But we're also going to take a look at Dominic Solanke. He's right here next to Sven Botman, and we're just going to watch him because he's going to make a really good peeling run round behind Botman, and it's his pace and his anticipation that really does help him get the better of this situation as the ball comes back towards Pedro Porro, who plays in a fantastic cross. Again, we're going to pay attention to Solanke. Look at how he's squaring up Botman. He's going to have the pace on him. He's going to have the run on him just to go around and take an opportunity once it comes his way, looking to isolate this space right here. It's this part of the box that he wants to get into once the ball comes into the box, and it's really well done by Pedro Porro, who doesn't waste any time out on this right hand side whipping this cross in. But again, look at the space between Solanke and Botman. It gives Solanke enough time. Botman isn't touch tight. It gives him enough time to be able to make a sprinting start. Look at this. As the ball starts to come in, look at this and this. He's going to make that run, and Botman isn't necessarily ready for it. As he moves around, Botman has gotten him on the wrong side, and then it's about whether Solanke can make contact. He makes amazing contact here. Look at this. Look at that for a diving header just across the goalkeeper. It's absolutely fantastic, and I think it's taken for granted. That is a proper header. Really good, fantastic cross, and Tottenham go 1-0 up in spectacular fashion. Within 7 minutes, there was a second goal, but it wasn't without its contention. Before that, though, I want to focus on this, and it's the aggression from Tonali and Guimaraes onto the two Tottenham Hotspur progressive midfielders. Papamatta and Bergvall in this situation are tasked with trying to progress the ball through the thirds. Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes are looking to try and prevent that, and it's through that the first mistake comes. You've got Papamatta playing the ball, but it's a little bit too heavy. Once he plays that, Bergvall is always looking to try and stretch. In trying to stretch, he just tries to poke it past an onrushing Joe Linton, and in doing that, it gets intercepted. Now, whether it's handball or not, I'll let you guys decide. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, but it doesn't get given, and it comes back up over into Anthony Gordon, who spins round into this channel. Now, once you have Anthony Gordon in this channel, it's danger time for Tottenham, and you know that the players are probably not going to get there quick enough before Gordon is able to take his shot. He shoots with his left foot, which I think is quite a brave move, but it's a fantastic shot down into the bottom right hand corner. It's brilliantly executed, and we've had 2 fantastic finishes so far in this game, and now it is game on with Newcastle equalising. Once the game settled, Newcastle began to take control, and they did this through the manipulation of the midfield area, utilising Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton. What they did was move as one, rotating round to certain areas of the pitch to best overload certain sides. Once they did this, it had a knock-on effect to the Tottenham players, forcing them to come across. It was this manipulation of the Tottenham players' positioning that Newcastle were looking to exploit, and they did it pretty brilliantly. Moving Joe Linton, Bruno Guimaraes and Tonali over with quick base passing, quick rotation and decent positioning, the Tottenham players began to come across. Once this happened, it left and isolated the Newcastle winger and fullback in a whole heap of space that would then be exposed through crossfield passes from Bruno Guimaraes himself. This is not the only avenue that Newcastle looked to exploit, but it was a clear one that they saw, and one that they saw to best expose on a number of occasions. The same can be said for the other side of the pitch. Joe Linton moving across into a more attacking position, Tonali supporting, and Bruno Guimaraes moving over as well to try and help. This then led the Tottenham players to come across and try to smother these attacks. It was in doing this and wanting to maintain a defensive shape, a compact shape, that Jacob Murphy and Tino Livramento were left exposed once more. This is again space that could be left isolated and exploited if enough passes and quickness of passing was able to be utilised into these areas. It was through this that Newcastle managed to create a whole heap of opportunities, and in the end, some major clear-cut chances. And it was through the overloading on certain sides that enabled Newcastle to get a couple of chances. Take this for example. This is Bruno Guimaraes on the ball currently, but look how close he is to Sandro Tonali. And then you've also got Joe Linton, who is just a little bit further ahead than the other two. Still quite close together. Look, Joe Linton's come and support right here. And I also want you to notice a run from Jacob Murphy right here. Look at him on the blind side of Jed Spence right here. This is really important because he's going to make a good sprinting run round. He's going to make it round into that channel. Bruno Guimaraes is going to play a good weighted pass into this area between centre-back and full-back. But again, remember what we mentioned about with the overloads. Look at how it's gravitating these Tottenham players towards one area of the pitch. And it just so happens that they don't necessarily use that space on the other side this time, but it's just there. It's there and ready to be able to take and really take advantage of. It just so happens that they managed to play a really good weighted pass into this area, and then it's danger time for Tottenham. You've got Jacob Murphy who can play in a good pass to Alexander Isak. Look how much space he's in. He's not being marked. He's not being aggressively pressed too much. You've also got Anthony Gordon at the back post. Remember we mentioned that space out on the back post because of that overload on the one side. It just so happens that it doesn't end up coming to anything. It doesn't really make it there, and it ends up being a wasted chance. But the opportunity is there and the idea is there. So when we go to another scenario, we can see this. Tonali with the ball. Again, making use of the wide areas of that space. Look at how much space Jacob Murphy has to run into. Look at this. You've got Jed Spence, again, not necessarily positioned correctly. He's still on the blind side, and he can't necessarily see where Murphy's going. He's going to drive into this channel, and once you're here, you're then waiting for this. He's got a 1v1 opportunity up against Jed Spence. He takes it, goes on to the right-hand side, but we also want to notice up here. We want to notice these two, because you've got Alexander Isak and, of course, you've got Bruno Guimaraes. Now, it's the runs from these two that's really important, because this is what causes Tottenham a load of problems. Look at Isak right here. Look how much space he's in. He's not being aggressively marked again. And so when the ball comes in from Jacob Murphy, who goes to make a pass, to make that cross, it's then so very difficult for the Tottenham players to be able to mark Isak. And once it gets a touch, he's always going to be there, always that fox in the box, a striker's goal, a proper striker's finish to tap it home. But again, the movement from Isak is fantastic. The isolation of space from Newcastle is really good, and the cross from Jacob Murphy is top notch. It's a really well worked goal from Newcastle that was really being made time after time again through those overloads, through that taking of space and the aggressive nature of those wide players. Once Newcastle had the lead, it was then about keeping it, and that meant preventing Tottenham's progression through the thirds of the pitch. Tottenham are a very unique side, and they utilise their fullbacks in a very unique way, pushing them into high attacking areas to best overload and exploit certain areas of the pitch to then enable different channels to be opened. With their wingers high and wide, it forces the defensive side to really start to push out their wing-backs or their fullbacks to best combat that wide play. Once that happens though, it then opens up channels between centre-back and full-back, enabling for these full-backs to then move into these positions and these pockets to exploit and enable different attacking phases of play. It's through this that they are then able to hit the byline, to get cutbacks, to get crosses in, and obviously exploit the extra space that has been added into the defensive side's back line. To best combat this, Eddie Howe and his staff did something a little bit different. What they ended up doing was playing something of a hybrid back five, moving Dan Burn across, moving Botman a little bit more central, and bringing in Tino Livramento, allowing for Jacob Murphy to drop back next to Livramento himself. It's then these players that are then going to be contesting and really going at the opposition wingers. This means that that Livramento and Dan Burn have occupied the channels that Tottenham are looking to exploit. So when Reguilon and Porro look to take up these pockets of space, not only are they more than likely to be smothered in this area now, but they also have a more contested line of progression towards these areas, meaning that they're not able to get down the sides as easily as they would like. And then we talk about this side of play that Tottenham wanted to go down. Tottenham focused a lot of their play down this left-hand side with Timo Werner and once Heung-min Son came into the match. But what they actually found was it was very difficult to get through Tino Livramento and Sven Botman, with both of them contributing 23 defensive actions combined, the most out of any set of players in this game. In short, Newcastle had a fantastic defensive display that limited Tottenham Hotspur to only 2 shots on target. It was this defensive display that saw them through and really prevented Tottenham from creating any kind of clear-cut opportunity, limiting them to less than 1 XG. It was a really, really impressive performance, and one that saw Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali and Joe Linton really create a close-knit, compact line of 4 just in front of this back 5, which prevented Tottenham from going through the centre as well. And this is what I mean when I'm talking about the shape. This is late on in the game, so a couple of substitutions have been made. But if we just see this back 5 here, you've got Lewis Hall, you've got Dan Burn, you've got Lloyd Kelly, who came on for Botman, Tino Livramento, and just look at the position of Joe Linton right here. He's made that movement from that right wing, right mid position to just come in and tuck in. That makes your 5. Then we're looking at the midfield players. So you've got Harvey Barnes, you've got Longstaff, you've got Tonali, who should be here, but he's just moving to take that run from Son in the centre of the pitch, and you've also got Bruno Guimaraes. That's your midfield 4. And then just ahead you've got Joe Willock, who came on for Alexander Isak, and that makes up your entire side. But if we just go back to talk about that 5, you've got this area that's being covered by these 3, you've got this area that's being covered by these 3, and it means that they are covering those main areas that Tottenham want to try and exploit. Son is trying to take that area as well. You've got all of that covered. And then what you're forcing Tottenham to do, without progression through these wide areas, is you're forcing them into a situation they don't necessarily want to be in, because it's so congested, because it's so compact. You're forcing them to try and play that cross. And then what you're doing is then looking at Dominic Solanke to try and win a header. But he's not winning a header against just 1. No, he's winning a header against 1, 2, maybe 3 if Joe Linton follows that run. And it just makes it so much more difficult. The height, the power, the presence. It's really well done from Newcastle. It's forcing him to play that cross, and it just doesn't quite get there. It's not quite there, not quite well enough, and it gets taken away. Another opportunity that's gone because of the good compactness of play, the closing off of those spaces, of those lines, and in the end, Newcastle were pretty comfortable. Overall, Newcastle's defensive display was absolutely fantastic and mirrored and matched their great offensive display of the first half, combining all this together, and it was a fantastic performance that I believe they thoroughly deserved. Newcastle were fantastic, but of course I want to know what you guys think. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you ever so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, hope you learned something new, and I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, my friends, take care.